All right. Good morning, folks. My name is Amit. I'm a co-founder of a company called Enalito. We build Shopify app. We have a Shopify app, Magento app, BigCommerce app, WooCommerce app for analytics, for e-commerce marketing, SMS marketing. We also have a plugin which will identify the problems in your business and will suggest you that this is the problem in your business and this is how you fix it. So based upon the app which is installed on an e-commerce site, the app automatically identifies the business problems and will give you solutions. We have been doing this business for the last 6-7 years, and we got a bunch of Shopify customers. We have got 5-star reviews in Shopify. This is me and my company. Let me introduce my fellow panelists here. Let me start with Kate first. Kate is in the business of cremation urns. She has a very unique business in which they are doing modern memorial cremation urns and jewelries. If you go to our website, Shopify-based websites, it's very enticing, very interesting, very beautiful pieces of urns and jewelry she has curated and put on the website. You must see her website. Her website is called Modern Memorials. She went to Boston University, did a bachelor's in communication. She started her career as a director in the PR in Star magazine, and she has a lot of other credits to her name. Welcome, Kate. Thank you so much for coming over. It was good to chat with you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Let me introduce our next speaker and panelist, Rob. I would highly recommend both of you and everybody listening to this session go to his LinkedIn profile and read his description. His description itself will inspire you. He has been an inspiration along his career. He's an engineer and an MBA. He has been helping a lot of companies build systems and processes. There's a book here. The book here is called Billionaire in Training. It's by Brad Sugars. Now this book exactly talks about what Rob is executing, what Rob is doing, creating systems and processes, and building great teams, inspiring them, and let these systems and processes run your company. Let the systems and processes make your business great. So you hire great people, you inspire them, let them work. That's what Rob is all about. Rob is the CMO and director of a company called CoreShop's Lab. He has immense experience in marketing and understanding the marketing to T, and he specializes in digital transformation of companies. And he helps companies grow revenues from hundreds of millions of dollars to thousands of millions of dollars, making it $1 billion company. So thank you, Rob. We will truly value your time and experience and looking forward to learn a lot from you.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Sam is an extremely accomplished woman here. She's extremely fluent in English, Chinese, and French. She's a founder and CEO of Allyshoes. Do you say Ally or Ally?
Ally.
Allyshoes, and she did her MBA from Stanford University. She went to Pearson Paris School for summer intensive studies on fashion design, and she's also interned with worked as summer analyst in Goldman Sachs and in Deloitte. She comes with a lot of experience now in the fashion industry, and she's rocking her business. She's the founder and CEO of a company, Allyshoes. Thank you so much, my fabulous. I will keep this down and let's keep the conversation honest, real, impromptu, and coming from the heart. Let me ask the first question to Sam. Sam, you have been in the business, you have been in Goldman Sachs in doing investment banking, then Deloitte, then you did fashion, and now you have your own company, Allyshoes. What's your why? Why are you in the shoe business?
Yeah, so definitely didn't plan to be in the shoe business, and it's sort of a serendipity where for me, I was kind of on the advisory side for a while and learned a lot about, how bigger companies think about strategy and operations. But I definitely realized I love building things, and I love the operation, kind of hands-on operational aspect of it. So that's why I decided to go into startup. Actually spent some time in a tech startup, but also came from sort of a retail veteran family where a lot of my family members were in the business. And so for me, I wanted to see if I can do something to really help change the industry and solve a real problem. So this actually came about because as a former consultant, I wore heels a lot, and I'm sure a lot of women have this pain point. And I was also looking into this trend of a flexible supply chain and how do you use combine that with data to see if we can find a better fit while reducing the waste in the production process. So that's kind of a few of the things that I was thinking about, and incidentally actually had a hiking injury to which then got me into thinking about, can I actually make a shoe that's comfortable for women, it's also stylish, and while applying those supply chain things that I was thinking about. So yeah, didn't plan on that, but was sort of connecting the dots backwards. It kind of came about naturally.
Excellent, wonderful. You know what they say? They say a lot of people in the world who are able to create their mess into somebody else's message, that's when people succeed. So if you have some mess or some problem, and with that problem you're coming up with a solution because you felt the problem is unaddressed, and you create your mess into a message for somebody else, that's what a very strong why, and I'm glad you are one of them, a very strong why. Thank you so much for setting the context, Sam. Looking forward to talking to you in the session.
Yeah.
Coming to Kate. Kate, memorial business, cremation, little different, selling things online. What's your why? We want to hear your story. What's your story?
So I was interested in the funeral industry. I thought that I had a background in working in magazines and media and PR and TV, and had nothing to do with the funeral industry at all. It's mostly sort of passed down through families. But I noticed that now it's more than 50% of people are getting cremated, and how to help these families celebrate their life. So I was sort of interested in that aspect. I'm also I love art and design. And so I just thought somehow we can meld the two to make a beautiful experience for these families to say goodbye. And so I started helping people plan funerals. And I found that there weren't that many urns that were available. I would work with artists and get them handmade, and they would take months. But typically, people go to the funeral home and they just sort of pick out whatever they have on the shelf. And it's not always, it's kind of a brass, simple, mass-produced item. And people are kind of having them in their homes. So as I was helping people plan funerals, I just decided that I would get some urns made and then put them online to see if anyone else would want them. And then kind of moved into this e-commerce business where we're selling really beautiful, modern boxes, basically, made with care to consumers.
And these, if you go to a website, you will see these modern boxes can cost up to $1,000.
Yeah.
Yes. They are very premium. They're very well curated and chiseled out and thought and designed. Must see. You must see our website. That's unique business. I haven't seen somebody in this business yet. That's a good perspective to have. You identified an area which was not served properly. Unfortunately, when people have to let go their friends and family, it's a very dark and grief moment, and you definitely can add something in to their lives at that time, which they can take home and with good memory of the person that they had to say goodbye to. Great cause again, Kate. Thank you so much for doing this to the community. Uh, Rob, Rob, I'm totally impressed with what I've already read about you. Uh, give us give us 2 or 3 marketing tips which people in the e-commerce industry can use without spending too much.
Well, first of all, let me comment that Sam and Kate have identified 2 of the most important things, right? So my perspective is that e-commerce really is logistics through customer, right? To do it well, right, you actually have to have that mindset. And that's important because I was just consulting with a company that is on Amazon, and they're asking, why aren't we selling more? And I said, well, you're doing a lot of things right in terms of having Amazon fulfill you. However, if you only give them an inventory of 16 items, they are not going to push you very hard, right? So you've got to think about that inventory side. And then Kate has identified actually a really burgeoning, in my opinion, right? We've got the boomers. I actually had my mother pass away in April, and this is a big area. So, and it's unique, right? So she's differentiated and has a unique area. So I think the first thing you really need to think about if you're going to be in e-commerce is actually what's the best way to start. And believe it or not, I don't know that that's always starting with your own e-commerce. And here's why. You need to think about how people come to you, right? And how you get there. So whether that is, and then how do you supply them? So for a small company, you know, that might be testing the market on something like, I have a t-shirt company. They just kind of tested their product on Etsy. And they found out actually a bunch of their designs sold a whole lot better than other designs. So make sure you understand how to get your volume and how to get to market. Once you have that figured out, as opposed to build it first and they will come, once you understand that, move into e-commerce and think about the real expense. The next thing is a lot of people, right? I am an odd guy, right? I started in engineering. I built a SaaS company. I fell into running an advertising agency. That was a terrible business. And then, even though I sold it, and now I feel like I've got all of my things together, where I've got tech side, finance side, and creative side there to help e-commerce. But what I wanted to say is that thinking about how you get out to that market, thinking about how you draw in is really important. And you've got to recognize that, like any business, e-commerce is heavy marketing. If you're a sub $1 million company, typical expenses, right? If you're $1 million company, you're going to spend $250,000 on advertising and getting the word out. It isn't like that, right? But you start spinning up, your costs as a percentage will actually decrease rapidly. The key in my mind is get to be a $2 million e-commerce business and up, and you actually begin to get some real economy and some real benefit.
2 million a month or 2 million a year?
Well, it all depends on the product, right? The t-shirt business is not going to be a $2 million company overnight, but right. So, you know, on the other hand, I think Memorials is obviously going to do a whole lot more than $2 million in my opinion. There's a huge market for it. But I think if you can get to $1 million in a year, you've got something. If you can get to $1 million in a year and then move very quickly to $2 million, because you can scale rapidly as long as you've thought about your supply chain, right? You will, and the other thing that's really important is margin. People don't recognize, right? You can't go buy something retail and then put it up online and be able to afford to do this, right? you need to have a very well thought out supply chain in terms of how you deliver, how you manage that cost, and have at least a larger margin than typical retail, which is, by the way, why I tend to advise a lot of manufacturers on how to go D2C. They have tremendous margin advantage, and going online is a tremendous opportunity for them to capture margin.
Yes. Thank you so much, Rob, for those tips. I think those will become very handy for a lot of people listening to us. Uh, Sam, coming to you, are you guys funded or bootstrapped?
We raised a very small angel round, and then since then we've been just bootstrapping and through some, more traditional financing like short-term debt and things like that, and revenue.
So is that by design or by default?
It's by design, more or less. And coming from Silicon Valley, I definitely looked into VC funding as an option. But I think if you look at the Casper or the Warby Parker of the world, or some of the big names that we know that are very well funded, you don't see a ton of success stories in the exit yet. So one on kind of the VC side, they're starting to be more cautious in terms of pouring a lot of money into direct-to-consumer companies. But also, I think as a reflection for founders, perhaps this is not the default way to go. And for me, it's very important to have a profitable business very early on, instead of growing top line only and hope that someone is going to buy us and not actually be profitable. And so it is very intentional for us to say, okay, let's grow a little bit more slowly, organically, but hopefully we can, be a more sustainable business that way.
Excellent. So they're saying that about this company, that you can either be rich or you can be king, in the sense that when you're king, you really are looking at top line and getting more customers, getting more name, increasing your brand, burning investors' cash, not your cash. Burning investors' cash, and just get those numbers, burn more cash, get more people, burn more cash. That's becoming king in the market. The second is where you are doing your business like you don't want to sell it, like it's like a baby. You don't want to sell it. You want to make it profitable. You want to nurture it. You want to grow it. You want to develop it. You want to water it. You want to put manure in it. You want to put your heart and soul in it. I'm not saying that in order to do the other thing, you don't do all of that, but then this is like you want to make it more sustainable. With that objective, you are doing your business. So there are two different theories. I'm not saying any one of them is true or wrong or right. Uber is still making losses. They still have not made a single penny of profit till date. The valuation is over $50 billion. So we don't. So and there's a huge article that came. Where is Uber spending their money? So, anyways, so if you decide early on whether you want to be king, burn more cash, get more people, or whether you want to be rich, sustainable, that decision has to be made early on, and you clearly have that focus and right mindset of deciding it early on, and hence that clarity and confidence clearly is shown in your business. Thank you so much for suggesting this to our audiences here, that the decision, the sooner you take it, the better it is. You should not be in the middle of being king or rich. Thank you so much, Sam. Kate, what about your business? Funded, self-funded, bootstrapped?
Similar, Sam. Got some angel help in the very beginning, but now it's bootstrap. And I feel like this gives us more freedom to make decisions and take risks and to do testing and product rollouts. We're working with 6 different manufacturers to create really beautiful pieces, and I'm not willing to compromise on the quality or anything for to get a better deal. And Yeah. So there's, I remember reading, there's an article in the New York Times over the summer about, about the fashion industry now, and how direct to consumer is kind of, at least in 2020, sort of those have been the successful brands. And they interviewed Tamara Mellon, who founded Jimmy Choo Shoes, and this kind of fancy fashion lady, and she told the New York Times reporter that she was in her house packing web orders. And I read that and I was like, thank you, because, part of that is, you are in the warehouse and you're packing orders, and you kind of have, so it's not glamorous, but you watch it grow like a little baby, and that's wonderful.
That's absolutely right, Kate. But I want to give and throw one more perspective here. Entrepreneurs like yourself, Sam, Rob, generally do not have a boss, or like boss, like somebody who's questioning you. Hey, how much are you doing? Why aren't you growing this fast? Why aren't you making your numbers? Why aren't you why are you not aggressive? Why are you not going after everything that comes on your way? So, and investors play that role, by the way, the devil's role of pushing you, kicking you, making sure you're more aggressive, go get it, asking you tough questions, numbers, matrices, graphs. Do you think having an investor on board and mentoring, guiding, like a business coach or a mentor or somebody who's pushing you constantly, and because nobody's there to question you, do you think an investor can be somebody who can do it and can help you achieve those growths which you have seen in your dreams?
So I can jump in. I would love to hear the other two's perspective as well. I think it depends. It depends whether it's the right investor, because, to your point, yes, it would be great to have someone to keep you accountable. That I definitely agree. And, I try to send periodical updates to our very early investors, and that the act of that itself is helpful, because then I really have to sit down and say, what did I do this past quarter? What are the progress we have made? That being said, you have to figure out if your incentive with the investor is aligned, because sometimes the incentive of the investor is, let's just have her raise the second round, or let's grow top line only so we can raise the second round and we can then sell it later. That may not necessarily align with what you're trying to do, and so that creates that kind of inherent conflict, if you will. And also, I think it would be tremendously helpful to have a strategic investor or someone who really understands the industry that can, kind of be that mentor and advisor to you. And that person doesn't necessarily need to be an investor. That could be an advisor or someone on your board who's invested in a company and who understands the industry. So those are my 2 cents.
May I jump in real quickly and give you some thoughts, right? Actually, one of my selling points that I use is being CEO is really lonely, and hiring the right outside advisor who has done it is important in my mind, and I try to play that role with my clients. Right? Here's ideas to push. Have you thought about it? Sometimes it's very easy to criticize other people's business and give them ideas for growth. The second is, I think angels actually play a great role. Those people tend to be people who have done a business, done well, and are looking to reinvest, obviously for a return, but there's also a component of advice, versus VCs are typically made up of people who are financial wonks, in my opinion, right? And they're going to look at your bottom line and they're going to drive you about a bottom line and getting them out at a good return. So the third option, right, is I agree with Sam, is actually your board. So I work with a very innovative biohealthcare franchise and e-commerce company, and they were able to get Dr. Dekkar, who's now just been named the dean of Harvard Business School. So if you're able to get a great guy on your board, if you're able to get, you know, world-class advice, that works as well. So I think there's a lot of ways to get advice other than the traditional investor route, but it's about actually going and seeking it, right? It doesn't come just because. And I think a lot of smaller companies can be very hesitant about investing in outside advice. And I can tell you that that would be a mistake. Get outside perspective.
Excellent. Excellent. Kate, what's your thought on that?
I'm sorry.
What's your thought on this?
Oh, I 100% agree. I have a board, unofficial, but people who I really trust and who push me and keep me accountable, but it's just mostly with ideas. And I also agree about hiring, you know, working with consultants who know what they're doing and can tell you you're overspending on this, you know, your margins are bad, just to take a look. Cause I feel like when you own a company, it's like you're making the pie or you're selling the pie, and it's hard to.
And you're washing the dishes afterwards.
Yeah, you're watching it, right. So it's you want to think big picture, you know, so it's good to have a consultant to sort of keep you more focused. Yeah, moving forward.
All right. So we got a consensus here, guys. It is very important to have a mentor, guide, somebody who can give you a perspective from a new vantage point, because you perhaps, when you're living your business, when you're breathing your business, you perhaps would not be able to have a different perspective because you are in it. Somebody looking at you from a different perspective or from a distance can throw a light and give an idea which can be worth it. So our panelists have confirmed that this is a good idea to have, and to have consultants, board members who are worthy of giving you great advice, not for the sake of just having them. Thank you so much, guys, for confirming this. Sam, coming to you, in your business, what do you focus on mostly? Where do you spend most of your time?
So it kind of changed through different stages. These days, it's been mostly on growth, because we're still at that point where, you know, we're still very early and we're still trying to figure out our top growth channels and expand those. So I work very closely with my content team, my marketing team, to kind of figure out what we're doing on a monthly and weekly basis, and also building out our you know, diversify our distribution channel, because these days direct to consumer shouldn't be your only channel. At least that's my belief. And so I'm also working on some business development and kind of partnership negotiations and things like that.
Excellent. So Sam is clearly saying her focus is growth, marketing, partnerships, and focusing on results that a marketing are giving to her. Rob, so you have been consulting a lot of e-commerce companies in your career. The last 10 months have been a little tough. What is your advice to these e-commerce companies for surviving and for thriving?
Yeah, that's a great question. The last several months have certainly convinced people of the e-commerce model. And a lot of the advice I give is around efficiency now, right? There are companies, they're growing. They have invested in retargeting or SEO or, you know, and are driving growth that way. But what happens is that growth, you know, Sam talked about getting into other channels. So I think it's a great strategy. And the reason is you can address very different demographics, very different groups of people that you don't normally engage on your own e-commerce. Now, it can be very expensive. So in that $50 million range, which is kind of the, well, I do a variety of consulting, 30.
Am I the only one who's losing him, or you was losing him?
Yeah, I think Rob, you're frozen here.
All right, so we'll come back to Rob. Kate, my question to you, what do you focus on your business and why?
I am focused on growth marketing, but also, again, I think we all seem kind of aligned, of growing my wholesale business, where we're working with funeral homes to have our urns there. That's typically where customers will buy an urn, and ours are so beautiful and different that a lot of funeral homes in certain pockets of the country with customers who they just want to walk in and have something beautiful, and it's almost, it's less than a casket as far as pricing goes. So working on the wholesale part, and also on manufacturing, we are working with, like I said, 5 different partners for glass, for horn inlays. There is a box that I bought at Barney's, which unfortunately is no longer around, but this amazing store in New York that has this incredible home section, and I bought this box and I was like, gosh, who made this box? This is so stunning. And it was this Italian manufacturer, and I just contacted them, and we're getting their urns that we designed together. So it's like cold calling manufacturers and making these beautiful boxes, so then we have a better margin to sell to funeral homes. So I'm focused on that.
Thank you so much, Kate. Kate, one follow-up question on that. What's the biggest challenge in your business, and how are you resolving it?
The biggest challenge of my business is, not a whole lot of repeat customers, hopefully for them. There's a pet and your mom, so we do have repeat customers, but it's not, it's spending a lot of money on marketing with, the hope that they will, only buy once or twice. So that's a big challenge. And actually the competition is also pretty challenging. My competitors don't have the same catalog that I have, but they have a bigger budget and are very competitive on Google and Facebook. And so, yeah.
How are you resolving it?
Making changes. Lots of Facebook has been a really good, Facebook and Instagram have been really good avenues for us, because it kind of maybe targets people with better photos, I think, from Google. And I honestly just sort of trying to move away. I don't want to sell anything that my competitors have on their site. So, to be original, because I just don't really want to compete with them. I can't compete with their margins or anything. So it's, that's, yeah.
Sure.
So original work.
Thank you for that. Rob, you were talking about exploring more channels than just being D2C, and you got cut off. If you can finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I apologize about that. That's the other thing COVID has revealed, is how fragile our internet structure actually is. Yeah, what I wanted to say is, look, you start hitting size, and what happens is you can't actually manage the number of channels and onboarding new suppliers and trying to get into these things. And a lot of times what we do is actually build syndication solutions on top of e-commerce or behind it. both for, and then vendor onboarding. So as you're growing, right, as you're adding Walmart, Amazon, eBay, whatever, you know, and if you're B2B, Alibaba, Amazon Business, right? And then there are a ton of small and niche focused marketplaces. As you're adding these actually become very complex to manage. Your staff can get overwhelmed. And so automation and good technology decreases your cost and increases the number of channels and how you can manage them very effectively without dissatisfying customers, right? Like having to keep high safety inventory, safety stock, you know, being able to move it from that model into an instantaneous real-time supply chain delivery system all the way out through all of your channels. And that's heavily the business I'm focused in. You know, we bring to bear traditional marketing consultants, right? You're going to need social people. You need SEO people, and you know, a lot of my work is that strategy, end-to-end strategy, on how you accomplish that.
Excellent, wonderful. So what Rob is saying, that businesses are suffering and there are ways to survive and to thrive. One of the ways is to also explore, apart from D2C selling on marketplaces like Amazon, Alibaba of the world. But then if there are so many marketplaces, it sometimes gets very cumbersome and very time intensive, very tedious to manage multiple channels apart from your own website, especially when you are a growing company. I'm purposely using the word growing and not small. I don't like the word small. When you're purposely a growing company and you cannot do so much things. So, Rob, you're absolutely right. Invest more in technology, less in managing these channels. Technology can help you manage all these channels. We ourselves, in Enalito, we have a company in India called Vinculum. We are partners with Vinculum. What Vinculum does is Vinculum has a lot of customers around the globe, and they help these customers sell on different channels. They sell on Amazon, Flipkart, Alibaba, all marketplaces apart from their own website. So you just have to talk to Vinculum, and they will manage all marketplaces for you for a very small fee, and that helps. So you use their technology, their platform. I'm sure Rob is also suggesting something of that sort. Am I right, Rob?
Yeah, we tend to build platforms that allow our customers to manage it, right? In an easy, so our strategy is manage it one time on your website, and we will automatically do the process workflow and distribute it out to all of your channels. So, you know, it tends to be for some larger firms. So I work with the second largest sporting goods distributor in America. And it's a lot about automation, process flow, and live feeds, right? Because inventory is expensive. So being able to get, you know, if something gets sold, let's say in Walmart, you need to know that inventory just got decremented, not just for Walmart, but for your entire ecosystem, right? With multiple vendors, multiple channels. And that's kind of the systems we build for e-commerce companies.
Wonderful, excellent. Sam, coming to you, you said you focus on growth. Your primary objective is growth, and for that you pay special attention to marketing. What marketing channels do you use? That's first question. And second follow-up question is, how do you do your customer segmentations?
So first question is, what marketing channels do we use? We have a pretty wide range of marketing channels. The ones that has been working well for us, I guess from an acquisition perspective, SEO has been growing really fast for us, especially after the lockdown. And so, you know, that's something where, you know, we continue creating content and create content with other partners as well. And that's just giving us a lot of organic traffic. Word of mouth, because of the stage we're at, is still a big part of our business. And so we have a referral program, but we also added an affiliate ambassador program, which has also been giving us really high quality traffic that converts. So that's our version of an influencer partnership, if you will. We don't pay anything for people to just, take a pretty picture and post. It's all commission shared. And so on a cash flow basis, it's better for us, and it just aligns the incentive with our partners as well. And then on the conversion side, email marketing has been very effective for us, especially during Q4. I think that, we spent a lot of time acquiring those emails and kind of nurturing these emails through our newsletters and things like that. And then once we have our annual holiday sale, then we see strong conversions through these as well. And the last bit is, like what Kate said, is Instagram and Facebook marketing, that we haven't seen much success in Google, but Facebook and Instagram, because of the way they are set up, it allows us to really optimize it over time. And I will say, though, the only thing with that is it's not always reliable. And one thing we have seen with election and all the political ads, our CAC just got hammered during that time. But the good thing is you can kind of dial it up when it's working and dial it down when it's not. So that's also something I've been working on. And customer segmentation. So that's something I'll answer it in 2 points, and I don't know if that's what you're looking for, but initially when we launched, we had a different type of customer in mind. I'm a millennial, so naturally I thought I was building something for myself. But as we started actually selling, we realized our customers are actually 35 to 45, and even 45 to 55 is our second biggest. And so initially when we had our initial, call it 200, 300 customers, we actually did a pretty deep dive search on all of them. And I also set up one-on-one interviews with some of them to really understand their psychographic as well, and also kind of geographics and things like that. So that's for us to kind of figure out where our core customers are at the very early stage. These days on customer segmentation, it's more around behavior for us. So specifically when it comes to email marketing and retargeting, figuring out their intention and their behavior and see how we can finally convert them. But yeah, I don't know if that's what you were asking for.
Yes, interesting. Great. This is great points. Yes, on both what you spoke about the marketing channels as well as segmentation. So when you're doing the segmentation, segmentation can be deep as well. For example, let's say, do you know which are your loyal customers, which are your potential loyal customers, which are the customers you're about to lose, which customers that never want to come back to you, which are your VIP customers, which are your big whales who are spending a lot of money, but they come only once in 1 year, and when they come, they just buy a lot of pair of shoes. Do you know who are these chunks of people?
Yeah, so we do, but I think we can probably go a little bit deeper to your point. So we use this, email service provider that a lot of brands use, which is called Klaviyo, and there they actually have these segments set up for you. And if you want to kind of create your own segment, it integrates with Shopify, so you can do that as well. But yeah, I do wonder if we can do some more customized segmentation on our own, but that's not something these days we're still relying on what they provide us with.
Sure, excellent. We will. I will, if you're interested, I will show you our customer segmentation and product segmentation that Enalito does on Shopify stores to deep level. But then we'll park the discussion for later on. Rob, coming to you. So what are your suggestions to people who are now thinking of coming online? They were in offline business since forever, but then but online was something which they were procrastinating. What are you suggesting them?
Sure. First, let me build on what Sam said, which is a lot of people focus on broadening the funnel, right? But one way to very effectively increase your revenue, which is the actual goal, right, is that we focus on three things in advice, right? And that is actually on the website, how are you optimizing conversion? Sometimes, right, there are certain things that one word, a different color, all kinds of things, right, massively will affect your conversion. And a lot of companies are not doing A/B testing effectively, and they should be. Another thing that we focus on is what I like to call finding, right? But focusing on search, whether that actually be fuzzy search, really being able to define categories well, because if people don't find what they want, they tend to leave your site thinking you don't have it, right? And then the third one is around abandonment. What is driving, how easy is your shopping cart to buy from, or are you causing abandonment? And that most often happens on the mobile experience. So they're just real quick, those are three things you could do very very thinking wise, A/B testing, and really change your revenue. But in terms of someone coming online, how do you move, right? What is it you're going to sell? And then how do you get to market, right? So you do have to think top of the funnel. And I think it depends on the kind of product that you're doing. So you've got two B2C folks on, let me give you a B2B example, right? And that is, retargeting is tremendously effective, and you can pull that from LinkedIn or send it to LinkedIn and their searches, obviously. But believe it or not, Facebook works B2B as well. It works extremely well in terms of focusing on that. And a lot of decision makers, B2B, tend to be more my age, 45 to older. I'm a little older than that. And, in large B2B organizations, right, we use LinkedIn and Facebook. We're not on some of the more progressive things like my 20-year-old daughter. I have no clue what she's doing. And in B2B, it's probably not necessarily effective, right? But a lot of people coming on board really don't understand digital acquisition. They can go out and they probably have products with high enough margin. They probably have thought about their business model pretty well, but they don't recognize that channel development, e-commerce is completely different. And that is the most common situation I wind up in advising B2B companies.
Excellent, Rob. Great piece of advice. What he's saying is that small changes on a website with the color or text size can make a lot of difference on your site to convert and to basically help your customers become your visitors become your customers. That's called CRO, conversion rate optimization. Then fuzzy search. When customer comes on your site, he should be able to search and find things real quick without spending too much time finding things. That's uh, very important message. And cart abandonment, look at those cart abandonment. Why did the person did all the effort of choosing things, putting in cart, but did not buy? The analytics behind, the reason behind cart abandonment must be delved into, because the devil and the God are in details. So you must get into details and analytics of cart abandonment. Great tips, Rob. Thank you so much for giving it away for free. Um, let me ask any of you panelists in the last round, if you have any question to a fellow panelist, you can go ahead and shoot now. You did not expect it.
No, but I think you have two very successful entrepreneurs here, right? And I like that you asked the why, So my question is, right, you clearly have developed a successful business process, but what is your goal, right? Where are you driving to in your brand? Because that also affects your choices. So for both of you, right, 3 years from now, because we never can predict that far anymore, 2, 3 years from now, where would you like to be, and how do you think you're going to get there? Sam?
I'm gonna go first.
Sure. I think, yeah, so like I said before, profitability is very important. I think for us in 3 years, the ideal setup would be, we're doing double-digit million and still growing and are profitable. And we should be able to, have a very focused, but hopefully a little bit more variety in terms of our product offerings. Probably still in footwear, but perhaps we're starting to look into things like small leather goods and accessories. That's sort of the next piece of it. And the third thing is on the technology front. Hopefully, at that point, we will have enough data to allow us to build some more, some smarter, predictable models. So it will help us, one, for customers to get better fit with our prediction, and so their experience is better. And two, on the manufacturing and logistics side, that will also allow us to be more efficient in our supply chain. And and then how will we get there? That's a good question. I think it's a learning process, and so for us, the channels that have been working, on the direct to consumer side through our ambassador network, our digital strategies, we would like to continue doing. But I really do think that we also need to have a few very strong partners, and specifically, we were actually doing quite well offline by partnering with stores on sort of a fit shop model. And I'm still very bullish on that. So hopefully, once the vaccine comes out, brick and mortar will come back and we can continue executing on that strategy.
Kate?
When I think about 3 years from now, I'd like to obviously be more profitable. There's the business side of getting the manufacturing right and easy, and the distribution very easy. The other thing that I hope to do, and I don't mean to copy Sam after every answer, but it's I think death, especially, they're the baby boomers, but, Generation X and millennials and younger, it's a little bit destigmatized. It's not something, my dog died suddenly and tragically a year ago, and I went through it. I told, I would be crying at a restaurant and tell our server, this is something that we can share. And I think that there are a lot of new growing businesses that don't compete with me that I would love to work with. Like, I know another one of your panelists makes these beautiful jewelry things, which we sell jewelry with ashes, but just a customized name thing, or light things or events, or some way to honor people. I feel like modern memorials should be forward thinking and helping our customers and see what else they need in this space, instead of them having to search far and wide. So not just urns, really just the whole process.
Wonderful.
That's great. Both of you essentially talked about diversification of your product line. And, that always, once you've got traffic to your website, another way of growing is certainly around that. That's great.
Wonderful. Excellent. Last question to Rob. Rob, before we wind up, you have been mentoring a lot of companies, advising a lot of companies. Do you suggest and do you advocate that these companies, these e-commerce companies should run without their founders, which I basically means is how do you suggest putting your business in autopilot mode, running a business without the
Yeah.
founder, running the business without the top executive? How do you put the business in autopilot? Should that be an advice coming from you?
Well, look, founders have the most passion and tend to be the best salespeople of their company, hands down. I've always wondered, why can't I find a salesperson as good as I am? Well, it's passion, right? So, but what I would say in terms of running without the founder, your operation and your e-commerce should run without the founder, right? I think that Sam and Kate bring big ideas to their companies, and that is always the job of a founder. Now, running without the founder, in my mind, either means you're looking at retirement on a beach, or you are selling your company. I think if you have passion, you won't do it. But in terms of checking the analytics, working the logistics, and making the business run, you do want to get out of the packing boxes yourself business, right? Because the most expensive time in any operation is the CEO or the founder. And you need to value your own time so that you can move to the next. A lot of founders, a lot of executives wind up so in the weeds, they miss out on really growing.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct, Rob. I think we at Enalito also have two business coaches, one in India, one in the US, and they have been constantly guiding us that the founders perhaps are the biggest or the best salespersons, but they're also the biggest bottleneck in the companies. They want to
Good point.
They want to micromanage everything. They want to be everywhere. They don't want to let go. They don't want to let the control go. And once you remove this bottleneck of the equation, so what they're saying is, uh, Henry Ford said, everybody, especially founders and entrepreneurs, must hire people who are smarter than you. So I
Oh,
hired
absolutely.
who are smarter than me. If you're smarter than me, you are hired. And then my job is to only give direction to these people, so that because they're smart people, we've hired them, we trust them, let them do their job. So you are the biggest founder, the biggest issue in the issue, as well as the biggest, most important piece in the business. We need to learn to remove ourselves out from the equation and let great people do their jobs perfectly. I think that's what we have learned over the years. And guys, thank you very much. Thank you. You have to say it, Kate.
Oh, I was just completely agreeing with you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. So an hour well spent. We have learned a lot. This video is recorded. We're going to be shipping it out into small pieces and as well as a full webinar. It was fantastic to talk to all three. We learned a lot today. The value that you are adding to your business, the obsessiveness that you are showing in your business, the passion, all these things are very important elements on your businesses, and you guys have it all in you, and you also are recommending to people to have it in you, and you guys have been such givers. It feels great when you are a giver. You can walk with your head up. Nobody wants to be a taker. You feel great about yourself when you are a giver, and this panel is truly a giver panel, and I really appreciate your time, your knowledge, your guidance which you gave over the last 1 hour. Truly in depth. Thank you so much. I wish you a fantastic week ahead and fantastic vacations, fantastic Christmas, fantastic New Year, and take care of yourself and take care of your loved ones.
Thank you.
We will be in touch. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye. God bless.